Hello everybody, so quick video came about because my daughter is in her rebellion arc, and amongst many topics, the Lord is one of them. So she hit me with the lowest hanging fruit that's out there. The question, well, where did God come from? And whenever I'm approached with this question, I typically take a time out and I kind of lay the foundation with whoever I'm with. And one of the things is questions of that nature usually just get tossed out because no one has a gotcha, no one has a winning statement. Literally, I can say this with 100% confidence, no one knows. Because while you're sitting there asking me where God came from, first off, I will legitimately tell you immediately, I don't know. I can't even begin to tell you. To which, there'll be a range of answers, most of the time from people who think they're smart, but typically have, and I'm just saying, I'm not being that guy, but double-digit IQs, they'll laugh and be like, "Oh, I got you." Meanwhile, their God, what they believe in, without any proof, is the Big Bang. And there's just numerous things that are wrong with the Big Bang. One of which is there's a couple breaking the laws of physics right off the bat. Creating energy, destroying energy, etc., etc. You can't have things pop out of nowhere. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say I think actually we have the edge on this one, and here's why. What makes more sense? A bunch of stuff popped out of the middle of nowhere. Remember now, supposedly it's almost infinite. Everything in the universe came from this little dot the size of a pinhead or whatever, how small it was, with almost infinite density, and such ridiculous claims, especially given the laws that we have already established, versus a hyper-intelligent, all-knowing, all-seeing being who is outside of our laws because they themselves made them and are obviously not affected by them. Like, he plays by a different set of rules. Wherever he came from, however that whole thing, wherever he kicks it, isn't affected by the same set of rules as the kind of playpen that he made for us. Is it similar? Maybe. Is it completely different? Maybe. I don't know. And again, I'm just saying, to me, from what I know, granted it isn't much, it makes a lot more sense that an all-knowing being set everything up the way it is versus an unfathomable amount of mass and just everything popped into reality from somewhere. See, anywhere you go with this, it doesn't. Let's say you say it's aliens and they put everything here. Then you say, well, where did they come from? Blah blah blah. But at least then you could have the same claim that I do, or that the God people do, is in, well, they have the technology to make rules for us that don't apply to them. So anyway, I explained this to her, and she did her typical 12-year-old. Oh, it doesn't matter. They're not going to listen to logic or anything. But my advice when you get faced with this particular question or something like it is just to kind of, and plus it'll help you see where the other person's at. Are they actually operating in good faith? Are they going to sit there and be like, well, neither one of us can scientifically prove we can't observe anything about the beginning of the origin of where the raw materials came from for our universe, our existence, anything about it. Nothing. If that person can agree to that, then you might be in a debate with someone who's exercising, good faith. They'll be reasonable. And if they're the type of person that's just like, well, no, and they just try to trot out all these ridiculous little, because if you read some certain scientific reports and experiments, yes, there is some instances where once in a while one tiny little like photon or something can appear supposedly, because it's not technically proven. It came out of nowhere. Most likely it didn't. But this for a couple of milliseconds or hundredths of milliseconds, this photon appeared, and from seemingly, they always leave out the seemingly, but that's obviously baked in there, seemingly nowhere. So if you have someone who starts trotting out stuff like that, then you might be trying to debate with one of those extremely annoying people who just like to argue. And I can say that because I used to be one of those people. In fact, I still I try to shape how I do it and make it so that it's not obnoxious, but and I don't like argue to win. I just like exchanging information in challenging ways, I guess. That's probably a poor way to put it, but I like to argue. And of course, my daughter got that from me. And all the vocational tests and all that said I should have been a lawyer, but bleh. Anyway, I highly recommend you don't get into any debate with people like that, because if they're not self-aware like me, and they haven't taken steps to mitigate that, and taken steps to not be obnoxious, taken steps to ensure that they will concede good points when they're posed to them, it's going to be a very, very frustrating time for you. Trust me. I've irritated scores of people, and they let me know about it. So, you don't want to do that. But, yeah, I just figured I would toss this out there in case you run into this type of argument levied by someone, especially if they're just looking to debate just because. That's my approach to mitigating that, or because no one knows, no one can prove where any of this. That's to me is a pointless endeavor. It's almost better saved for the philosophy, classroom, or the philosophical debate center or whatever, because yeah, it's going to be a gigantic time waster, unless you yourself are one of those people that likes to argue, in which case, have at it. Peace out.